everyone, and welcome to today's General Hospital recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. I'm a hot mess today, so I'm going to leave you with Misha, and I'm going to try to get through this the best I can. It was a really good episode, and I want to do it justice. So, at the church where they're going to have Morgan's funeral, Carly speaks to God. She's not very religious, but, she hopes Morgan is with him because, she couldn't protect him, so she hopes he can. And then Sonny comes in and says, oh, it's all my fault. I couldn't protect Morgan. He apologizes for interrupting. We know he's very religious, and he takes that very seriously. So she wants him to take care of himself for his other kids and for himself. And he thinks he didn't do right by Morgan. And Griffin hears and comes in. So he says he was with Sonny when he was struggling with the decision. And Sonny did cancel what he set in motion. And she knows all that. She believes him. He would never lie to her about that. But it was too late. And that's really the bottom line. So Carly leaves. Sonny appreciates Griffin's involvement. He says that, Sonny seemed so certain that night. And Sonny says it didn't matter what happened. His son's dead and he's being punished. And maybe he doesn't deserve forgiveness. And Griffin needs to help him ride this out. He really does. So he feels that the people around him are always the ones punished. And he's going to take responsibility for it tomorrow. Very ominous. So Griffin tells him anything he tells him remains in confidence. Sonny says he made up his own rules and his code, and he can't run anymore. He's done. And Sonny seems not to have slept. Me neither. I'm working on 2 hours of sleep here. Get to sleep until about 6 in the morning last night. And woke up at like 8. So neither Griffin hasn't been sleeping either. He's questioning everything. He thought he was supposed to leave the priesthood, but now so much has gone wrong. Maybe it's a sign that he needs to pick up his collar again. And honestly, I'd love to see him in that role because he's really great with people. At the Metro Court, Michael was previously at the church helping set up, and Nell comes over to talk to him. So he has letters Morgan wrote him. Morgan wanted him to be less serious, and he feels that, he was the reason Morgan was sent away because he went through a lot of stuff, and, their mom wanted to keep Morgan safe. So Morgan then stopped talking to him after Michael snapped at him and told him not to call him Mikey, but he'd give anything for him to walk in that door and call him that. So, he talks about how he and Morgan had the same childhood, the bodyguards, the island, they had each other when they had no one else, and he doesn't have anyone to share those memories with. And then he goes on blaming himself, and Nell's like, no, it's not your fault. And she talks him down. She's really the savior of this family right now. So she stands up for Sonny. Michael is still struggling with forgiveness, and Nell thinks about that note that she was reading that said something about her father, you owe me, your father. And when Michael says Sonny should have made different choices and he didn't have to cross that line. So she asks about what he said with that. And, how do you see the point of no return before you're already past it? So Michael says, if it's just you, fine, do what you're going to do. But when you drag someone else because of your choices, you better think about the consequences and how it's going to affect their life. So Carly comes in. And Michael steps away to take care of some things. Carly sits with Nell. She tells Carly Michael's really strong. And, she feels that Carly feels she's being unfair leaving Sonny to grieve alone when she has a support system. And a part of her does want to run to him and, does acknowledge they're the only ones who are feeling this level of pain. But just something holds her back, obviously. And then JAX comes in, and I didn't expect to see him. I guess I've been out of the loop. And he says that she can lean on him, and she's really happy to see him. So he was in a desert when it happened, and he found his phone like 3 days later and got Michael's message, which is when he went straight to the airport. He really loved Morgan. He was raising him in his home for a while there. So Nell's going to take off, and Jax is surprised to see her, and he thanks her for coming back for the funeral. And Carly's like, oh, no, she never left. She's my assistant. And needless to say, he's surprised and leaves, which means they're not dropping this. And, Jax couldn't be her father, right? right? So he thanks her for, so Jax thanks Carly for sharing Morgan with him, for all the times they spent together. She thanks him for being there for him. She tells him, like, he can say what she knows he wants to, that she's selfish and reckless for bringing Sunny back into their lives, but he wouldn't say that to her, especially not now. He's just there to help. And then Michael comes back in, and Nell's standing by. He knew Jax was coming, obviously, because he called him. So at the bar at the Metro Court, Nina's over there, and Valentine's there too, and he tells her about Charlotte and how he's her father. So Nina, needless to say, suspicious. He's the third man to claim paternity, and he doesn't like that other people are influencing her opinion of him. And I'm just like, I'm not even going there right now. So Nina thinks he was involved in Maxie's kidnapping, and he's like, well, no. And she's like, well, you have any proof of that? And he's like, well, proof I wasn't involved. And she's like, whatever. But he still wants to be with her. I mean, could this just be an innocent thing, or like, is he targeting Nina for something, you know? So at Nathan and Maxie's place, Maxie comes home after a long time with Nina, going over wedding stuff, and Nathan wants them to have a romantic evening, just them, no interruptions. So of course, after they say that, there's a knock at the door. It's international mail from Amelia Beaulieu. They say Claudette and her mother's last name like 50 times, and I took French for 4 years, but I watched this episode over the course of like 2 hours, okay? I haven't been able to focus. So, it's from Claudette's mom, Amelia Beaulieu, in Quebec. So it's in French, obviously. And Claudette had a backup plan. If she didn't check in with her mom at least once a day, her mom would send this letter to Nathan, and it's been 3 days. So Nathan thought she went into hiding, but there's a letter from Claudette where she admits Valentine is Charlotte's father. She was trying to protect her. Something had to have happened to her if they have this letter, and Valentine was probably behind it, and he will try to take Charlotte. At Alexis's place, the cookies are burning, and she can't find Danny. So thankfully, Danny's okay. She grabs him and brings him outside, tells him to count to 20 if she doesn't run out, if she doesn't come out, to run to a neighbor's and call the police, but she comes out in time. So then Laura comes over, and it's all smoky because, you know, fire. And Danny says, Grandma burnt the cookies, and Alexis rolls with it, and it's like, yeah, I need a new oven timer. And I'm like, yeah, that was it, definitely. So Laura asks whether she looked over the paperwork, and Alexis is going to take Danny upstairs first. Never a good sign. And Laura sees the bottle of wine, but it's just to ask for a glass. So she tells her Nicholas's documents are invalid, and Laura has this celebration. But then there's a Valeride notarized document where Mikos revised his will for the oldest living heir, which is Valentine. So then all that excitement and joy is just sucked out of her. I can't imagine what that's like. So Laura's furious. Again, can't imagine what that's like. And Alexis thinks that Mikos was trying to hide this from Helena, which is why it didn't come out until now. And someone must have been holding it and handed it to Valentine when Helena died for realsies. And Laura struggles and says, why did her son have to die then? Like, so Alexis says Nicholas was noble and selfless, and, you know, his death wasn't meaningless. You know, he died to save another person, and she's going to go back to Windermere. She doesn't want to be there when Valentine comes home. And so she's going to pack up. So Alexis gets on her laptop and she Googles, do I have a drinking problem? And honestly, I'm about to Google that in 2 seconds too. 1 second, I need a break. At General Hospital, Finn catches Hayden taking the glass out of her shoe. He washes her hands and tells her what it was. So he has a whole slew of things for her, peroxide, topical cream. Then he sees the cut on her finger and kind of goes into panic mode. She says she got cut this morning, and he's like, we have to see if it broke the dermal area. He looks, he's like, it broke the dermal area. And for some reason that was funny to me. Can't remember why now. So she potentially has what's killing him. So he gives her an antibiotic booster and iodine, and he's panicking, and he feels the same thing is happening to her that happened to his wife. She says she's fine, nothing's wrong, and he wants her monitored. He needs to clean up this mess first, and he wants to observe her for 24 hours because symptoms are going to show soon, but she leaves, and he runs after her, but does he find her? Only time will tell. So that end scene. Alexis decides she doesn't have a drinking problem. She just has an I'm in pain problem, which is kind of where I'm at right now, to be quite honest with you. Danny comes down. He says he had a bad dream about smoke. If only, right? So Michael acknowledges Nell stepped up to help the whole family out, and she's like, well, you guys are really good people. Why wouldn't I? Nell sees Jax and Carly hugging. And Griffin feels maybe everyone would be better off if he lived by his vows. And Sonny says Duke would be very proud of him and, even asks him to come to the funeral tomorrow. And then he also asks him to take care of his family afterwards. So I know Maurice Bernard, I think he's filming either a movie or something. So is this like going to be his break? So is Sonny going to leave for a while? I think that's what's going to happen. Maxie sees Claudette was doing this all for her daughter, and Maxie wants them to fight for Charlotte together, which, yeah. Maxie, she's come such a long way, and I'm really proud of her. Valentine feels Claudette didn't put Charlotte's needs first. Hayden comes rushing into Windermere. She's not in good shape. Laura tells her Valentine does own the house and she's moving as soon as possible. Hayden doesn't seem too concerned. She's really out of it. She's sweating, dizzy, hot because she took her jacket off. It's like leaning out the window. It seems like she has abdominal pain, and then she collapses and the door shuts, or the window shuts, and the candles blow out, and like that's some real hard symbolism right there. And we know how much I love symbolism, right, the Mish Police? Right. Finn calls Hayden, but she doesn't answer. He wants her to come back to the hospital. It's serious. If she's infected, life or death. So could this potentially bring them closer? And if so, why did an infectious disease have to bring them closer? Oh, that's symbolic too, I guess. Alright, thank you so much for watching today's recap. I know it's not the usual, and I know, it was rough, but honestly, this is the best I got today. I will see you tomorrow for more General Hospital a little later. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.